Huni writes science fiction full of heart and humor. She studied computer science and national security and ignores both when writing stories involving computers and politics. In the Air Force, she worked on a NASA program and thus considers herself a rocket scientist. Find her at juliahuni.com. Julia, take it away.
Hi, thanks, Kate. So back in 2019, I wrote a short story called The Trophony. I wrote it for an anthology. And I quickly discovered that these characters had a lot more to say than just the 9,000 words that I had originally written. So I wrote a whole series. It's 4 books long. And the book I'm reading from today is the first book in that series. It's called Crimson Run. And I'm actually going to be reading from that short story because it's the prologue in that book. And I know a lot of people skip prologues, but I hope people don't skip them in that book because it tells a lot of backstory and some interesting facts about the characters. And I'm going to be giving away a e-copy of that book, Crimson Run. And originally I said I was going to give away 1, but I might be persuaded to part with a few more than that. So sign up for my newsletter. So, the Trophony. The stench of fear permeated the shuttle bay, overriding the smell of grease and rover fuel. Hundreds of civilians huddled in clumps like sheep in a snowstorm. Men, women, and children stared at each other, silent except for the babies crying in response to their parents' tension. Even the toddlers stood still, big-eyed and quiet. The speaker crackled, and a smooth tenor voice spoke. Attention, civilians. The Crimson Empire is not attacking. There's no reason for panic. Federation and Empire diplomats have decided the presence of non-combatants in the forward area is hindering negotiation. Therefore, you are being relocated to Federation Base Loras for now. Quinn Templeton leaned closer to her friend, Tony Bergen, and muttered, "Right. And my great-grandmother teaches marksmanship classes at her old folks' home." Tony shrugged. "My grandmother does teach marksmanship," he said, a hint of laugh running under his words. "But she's an instructor at the Special Forces Academy." At this time, groups 1 through 20 proceed to Alpha Shuttle. Follow the blinking light. Green lights streaked across the shuttle bay floor, creating a meter-wide path to the spacecraft near the huge hangar doors. Quinn frowned and turned to check on her kids. Eliane stood silent beside her, one hand gripping the pink tuffle, the other clutching the corner of Quinn's jacket. Lucas slouched a few meters away with another preteen, both struggling to maintain cool attitudes. Lucas glanced around, made eye contact with Quinn, and quickly turned away, pretending he hadn't just looked for his mother. The shuttles loaded quickly. Quinn got Eliane and Lucas strapped in, and their bags stowed. Settling back into the uncomfortable seat, she reached up to pull the straps across her body. "Templeton, Quinn," a voice barked over the din. "Perutha, Steve, front and center." Quinn jumped, her body responding to the command before her mind caught up. "Don't worry, I'll be right back," she told the kids. Pushing through the sea of people, she worked her way down the aisle to the front door of the shuttle, followed by Perutha. "This way." An enlisted man in the familiar gray and black camo uniform jerked his head and started across the shuttle bay, not waiting to see if they followed. "What's going on?" Quinn asked, but both men ignored her. With a glance back at the shuttle, she trotted after them. In the ready room, she joined a dozen other grumbling passengers. A tall man stepped to the front of the room and cleared his throat, stilling the muttered conversations. "I am Master Sergeant Kress." The man twitched his sleeve as if to draw their attention to his rank. "We need to rebalance the load on one of our shuttles. We're moving passengers from that shuttle to the others, and we'll be making a second run to pick up the last of the civilians. You will wait here until the Alpha shuttle returns from the transport." "My kids are on that shuttle," Quinn screamed, pushing towards the door. Unfortunately, the rest of the group had the same idea. Voices rose in anger and panic, bodies pressing into each other as they all tried to push out of the room. "Attention!" Press's parade ground voice cut through the hubbub. The mob settled, people unconsciously stepping back and straightening up. "We know some of you have dependents on the shuttles. We also know you wouldn't want to put those dependents at risk. Many of you are former military or civilian employees. That's why you were selected. You understand the importance of good order and discipline, especially in a situation such as this. We will transport your dependents safely to the cruiser, then the first shuttle will return to retrieve you. Now, Mrs. Andretti would like to say a few words." Quinn looked around the room, noting the faces. Most she recognized, a few surprised her. Spotting Bergen, she wormed her way through the crowd to his side. "What's the Admiral's wife doing here?" Bergen shrugged, surveying the room. She's definitely not former military, unless her recruiter was desperate to make quota. A tiny young woman with flowing blonde hair, an elegant suit, and extravagant makeup raised a languid hand. "My dear fellow spouses," her high-pitched voice made more than one listener cringe. "We must do our duty in this trying time." Tiffany Andretti, trophy wife of the Admiral, had always irritated Quinn. She tuned out the squeaky voice and pulled her phone to text her son. Lucas's reply was filled with arcane acronyms and angry emojis. She showed the phone to Bergen. "I don't think Lucas is thrilled." Bergen reached up and patted her shoulder. "They'll be fine. Melody's on your shuttle, right? She'll take care of them." "Yeah." Relief washed over her, and she sent a quick message to her friend. Melody's immediate response relieved her further. She put the phone away and leaned closer to Bergen. "What is the Trophany droning on about?" Bergen rolled his eyes. "Do our duty, support our service members, yada, yada, yada. I think she's here so they'll believe that they're coming back." "That doesn't reassure me," Quinn snorted. "Didn't you see that picture of the Admiral with the vid starlets last week? Getting rid of this one might be exactly what he's hoping for. So sad, lost in the Crimson Surge. Devastating loss. On to wife number 4. Bergen bit his lip, but Quinn could see the smile. The roar of a shuttle engine drowned out the Trophany's voice. Every head in the room snapped towards the view screen on the wall. A streak of motion, a flare of engines, and the first shuttle took off. 3 more followed in quick succession. "That's it then," Bergen said under the angry outburst. "Perfect tactics. Distract us while they finish the deed. Where's that Sergeant Kress?" Quinn peered around the room. Being taller than average, she could easily see over the group. Even now, most military spouses were female. The few men, like Bergen, stood at the edges of the crowd, making her task easier. "I don't see him." "Then let's go find him." Bergen moved casually towards the door, stopping whenever anyone looked in his direction. Quinn followed his lead. The door slid open, and the 2 made their escape. The hallway was deserted. Bergen led the way to a door marked Control Center. He tried the handle. "That's odd. This should be locked." The door swung open. Inside, communications equipment lined the walls with a large view screen showing the runway. Lights blinked, static buzzed, but no one manned the workstation. "Where is everyone?" Quinn asked. Leaving the control room, they checked the shuttle bay. Empty. Room by room, they checked the entire facility. It was all empty. That's all I've got for you for today. Thanks for having me.